So, as I mentioned in the last video, this one's just going to be me talking about a bit of housekeeping that I'm going to be doing. This is just some background noise to have in the video while I'm speaking. It's nothing too important. You might hear my clicking of the mouse as I try and surround these Kalanard on knights, but really nothing else is going to be of importance on the actual screen. So, there's a few things that I feel I need to talk about, and that's mainly with regards to a bit of clutter. And that comes down to me doing faction overviews and top 10s pretty continuously and on the same playlist. And this has led to me having quite a lot of same videos on the channel, which I think eventually I will need to do something about, and it's going to be probably before I do the next faction overviews, which is going to be at some point just after they release the other factions that are at the moment not available to be played. Obviously they're not actually done yet. So, gonna need to wait on them, and yeah, because of the faction overviews I've already done, I think the ones for Reforged that I've already done, because they're now defunct, when the time comes I probably will remove them from the listing and just make it so you can't watch them anymore, because at the moment they are not accurate anymore. That's the case with a lot of my top 10s as well, although for the top 10s I'm not really sure what I'm going to do, because there are still more of them than is needed. But I do feel as though, I don't know, I feel like some of them are still kind of interesting to see. But I will need to do something with regards to that. I will also need to put them on a separate playlist, I think, because at the moment, well, ever since I started doing this, really I've just been putting stuff on the same playlist, which is not ideal because it means that things of different categories are technically all in the same place. It looks like these Kalanard Knights are going to get fucked pretty hard by all these orc fellas. Going into the Snagen now though. Anyway, so that's really the case of what's going to be happening. If you see like one of my old videos which is no longer listed, it's because I'm going to be doing a new version of it, and that won't be yet, to be fair, because obviously the faction overviews won't be happening until the next factions are released, which I'm not sure when that's going to be, but it's not like imminent. It's not going to be happening like next week, so it doesn't really make too much of a difference there. Also for the top 10s, I think I'm going to hold off on them for a bit as well, mainly because, again, things change and they become defunct pretty quickly. Like, a good example of this was the Archers one I did, where literally, I think it was a day or 2 days after I posted it, the Elder Royal Council got their armor piercing back, which catapulted them up the list to be like, well, they could even be up into the top 3 or something like that. Again, I didn't really overly test it, but I know that they're going to be extremely high up on the list now, whereas before they were only 9th. So again, a lot of my top 10s at the moment are pretty defunct, so I do want to hold off on them until the faction overviews are a thing again. Having said that, I don't want to just do replays, because I feel like there are enough people that do that anyway, and they do it probably better than I do, so it doesn't really fit for me to just do replays. Of course I will do replays, they are useful in and of themselves for talking about this sort of thing, and you know, often when I'm talking about replays I often slip into I'm talking about my faction or talking about the mechanics of the map or something different other than the cinematics of what's going on. So they will still happen, but I do want to do other things, and I did actually get quite an interesting request to have a look at the Elven Archers, and I assume what he meant by it was to have a look at the Noldor Elders for the High Elves, the Elder Council for the Woodland Realms, and the Galadrim Veterans for the Lothlorien Elves. And I assume that what he wanted me to do was talk about the differences between them, because there are differences between them, despite the fact they are quite similar units in the way that they work. They do have some obvious differences and some not so obvious differences, so I think that stuff like that is actually pretty interesting to talk about, because units of the same type that are very similar still have their differences. So I think I will do stuff like that to break up the battle replays for the time being until the factions are in their full form and I can start doing the overviews. Also, the top 10 factions video, which I'm inevitably going to do for Reforged, is going to wait until all the factions are released as well. And I think for that, it's going to not be my opinion. I think it would probably be best to get a straw poll from the Discord and see what people think, because I think that's more of an accurate representation rather than just me, because it gives an average of people's playstyles as well as just my own. Because obviously, as a general rule, I prefer more solid factions like the Dwarves over sort of more movement reliant factions like the Lothlorien Elves, for example. So that's going to be a thing, and now I think with that out of the way, I think it is best if I talk about what my plans for the faction overviews actually are. And I think I will leave timestamps for the different parts of this video. These Kalanardon Knights are still going despite taking damage. So the faction overviews I'm going to do a little differently because I think they can be done a lot better than I've done in the past. In the past I've just either shown like a basic army of them as they fight the rather dumb AI, or I've lined up all their units on the grassy plain here and I've gone through them one by one, which is fine, but I think it can be done better than that. And I think that what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be listing 3 major strengths, 3 major weaknesses, sort of an overall view on how they generally play, and then my opinion on them and how strong they are relative to the others. And that should work pretty well because now in Reforged the factions are strong in different areas, much more noticeably than they were in Vanilla, for example. I mean, really in Vanilla the only separators were really human, orc, dwarf and elf. Like, you know, those were generally the only differences, the major differences between the factions, whereas now each individual faction is noticeably good at certain things. For example, Rohan obviously very strong with their cavalry, but also strong with their axe units. Their axe units in general are pretty tough and they do a lot of damage, whereas Gondor, it's a bit more of a focus around their shielded infantry. You know, and again, this extends into weaknesses obviously. Rohan's infantry is not very survivable. Khans don't get siege equipment, which is a rather unique weakness. So it's, you know, I feel like there's a lot of potential there to be a little bit more informative rather than just going through the individual units, because, you know, anyone can go through the individual units, and I want to give a bit more of an informed opinion if at all possible. So that's my plan for the faction overviews. I don't know when they're going to be coming because I don't know when the next factions are going to be released. I know that Dol Guldur and Angmar / Rudauer are 2 of the factions that are being added. There might be another one as well. I think the Western Dwarves, the Dwarves of the Blue Mountains, I think are going to be one. And I think potentially those are the 3 that I know of. There might be another one that I'm just completely forgetting and in my ignorance, but even so, that should be something to look forward to as well. So for the time being though, I will be doing a few more replays. I actually got sent a battle replay. So interestingly enough, I also did reacquire my old editing software, the updated version as well, so it should be pretty nice quality. Hopefully that can be seen on this video, but more likely I'm going to showcase that on the free-for-all that I got sent, because that seems like a good place to do that. And then after that, hopefully Minas Tirith. And then following on from that, we shall see. And also, just to say thank you for the 700 subscribers. I didn't honestly think I would get this many subscribers when I started doing the sort of individual overviews for the factions about 10 months ago now, for the vanilla Third Age, and ever since Reforged has come along, I actually genuinely feel like I'm actually doing something vaguely useful, so that's nice. But really all of the credit should definitely go to the mod makers and the lead developers and the sub-developers on the Discord. If you want to join the Discord, of course, the link will be down below in the description, and so will the ModDB link if you want to download the mod. And yeah, hopefully I'll see you on the Discord, and hopefully we can play some nice battles together. These Kalanardon Knights are still going. That's quite impressive. Let's finish them off, shall we? But yes, I do believe that that's all I really needed to talk about. And again, it's really just a case of housekeeping. You know, I do feel that now the channel has reached a point where I do need to do that, otherwise it's going to become horribly disorganised. And there's a bit of redundancy going on at the moment. The Snaga don't have a lot of mass, naturally. But yes, that will be how things progress. And I do look forward to doing the faction overviews because, you know, I feel like the idea behind them with the strengths and the weaknesses is pretty solid. So hopefully I'll be able to edit them together a little bit better than I was able to previously as well. We'll see. This is a lot of Snaga. But yes, I hope you found this somewhat informative. It wasn't really meant to be a cinematic spectacle, of course. There's the general surrounded by a sea of Snaga. But yes, this is the plan, and I hope to see you for the faction overviews because they should be interesting, and hopefully, you know, the battle replays that I do will also be pretty good as they go forward, because it's a lot easier to get bigger games going now. Oh my, the echo on that Snaga. So yeah, hopefully I'll see you on the next video that I do, and hopefully you'll enjoy the faction overviews in their new form when they finally come out.